Pork sword calling Danny boy. Pork sword calling Danny boy. Come in, please. Are you receiving me?
My name's Mike Ellis. I have a problem. I rescue, refurbish, restore and revitalise vintage drums, in particular Premier drums. In this programme I'll share with you my adventures, ups and downs, ins and outs, triumphs and tragedies as I lavish some TLC on vintage British drums. Welcome to the Drum Fettler.
Hello and welcome to another fabulous edition of the Drum Fettler. Lots of exciting stuff to get through today. We are going back to the Shaftsbury floor toms. We need to get those further down the track. There's still quite a bit of work to do on those. There is a new project, slightly controversial in the minds of some people, but have a look at it, see what you think. But first, let's go back to that rather lovely kit, the Premier Resonator kit belonging to Tommy from Wet Wet Wet. Just had a notification via electronic mail that the tension rods for the Wet 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 bass drum from France are coming today. So that means I better get stuck into the bass drum and get things all stripped down and ready so we can expedite that little job, get it out of the way and get it returned to Tommy. That's the bass drum done. Through the wonders of electronic mail, once again I've had another notification about the tension rods, and they are now not coming today. They're coming tomorrow, which could be interesting because tomorrow is a Sunday. So do I think they will come tomorrow? Do I buggery? The latest project is here. It is a 14x8 Premier tom in royal purple, often referred to as a tuna can tom, or even worse, a pancake tom. It is not a pancake, it has no syrup. It is not a tuna can because it does not smell of fish. It's one of Premier's curiously sized toms that started sometime in the 50s, although many people do like them. I particularly like them. I think they're very nice sounding drums. But the problem was Premier had their 12x8 tom, and then the next size up was the 14x8 until the 13x9 came along, and then the 14x10. So it sort of became a bit anachronistic and didn't really fit in with what everyone else was doing as well. So manufacture ceased sometime in the 70s. Now a lot of these end up being converted into snare drums. A lot of people don't like that. Well, I've done quite a few, and we have a situation here where a client wants his turning into a snare drum, which is what I'm going to do. Now the reason for this is he's got this royal purple kit, and as I mentioned, the 13x9, and this is a 14x8. Well, he has a 13x9 tom and then this 14x8, and as he rightfully pointed out, it looks a bit strange, which it would. It always looks a bit odd. In fact, I think it was in the 1972 catalogue. They had a double bass drum kit, and the left hand tom was a 13x9 and the right hand tom was a 14x8, which it just didn't look quite right, to be honest. He wants this turning into a snare drum, so he's got a matching snare for the rest of the kit, which will be a 4-piece of 13, 16, 22. Nice classic sizes there. Now I've got a new old stock 0632 throw off here from our good friends at Highwood Drums. I've got a butt plate somewhere, I'll find that, and I'm just waiting on a snare side resonant hoop, because we've obviously got the two what we call batter style hoops, but we need the snare side one. That should be here hopefully in the next day or two, but I can in the meantime get on with fitting the snare throw and the butt plate. The tom holder lands in the right place, so in relation to the badge, which is there. So that is a traditional place for a badge on the snare drum, and then the throw off will go here and the butt plate directly opposite. Unfortunately, the mount holes for the throw off do not match those of the 39235. So what I'm going to have to do is going to have to drill a little hole underneath the lower one. But what I think I might do is put a little vent in the redundant hole just to keep it nice and neat and tidy. I'll also have to put in some snare beds as well, just so the snare wires can seat themselves nicely into the resonant head. Okay, Sunday came and went, but you know it didn't come. The tension rods. So here we are, the following day, which is controversially Monday, and thankfully the tension rods have arrived, and I've checked them against the others. They are the right length. Hurrah! Huzzah! And similar sorts of exclamations. We can get the bass drum finished. So if you take a look here, you can see we've got, those are the rods, and there's the lugs, which currently in the process of giving a lovely little polish to. So now all I need to do is put it all back together, and that's it. The wet kit is finished. I'll see you in a little while. As if by magic before your very eyes, the drum's already done. Well, it's been a fun project, this. A few challenges on the way, but I think you'll agree the results speak for themselves. So, nice little job, swap out the gold hardware for chrome hardware. So we've got a box of gold hardware to go back to Tommy should he want to change them back in the future. So all that remains now is need to get this into its case, and then it can wing its way back up north. To the Shaftsbury drums. This is the 14-inch, was a Hayman shell, and it's become a faux Shaftsbury shell, well, faux Shaftsbury drum, I should say. Now, I've been trying to figure out where to put the floor tom legs. Now, putting the lugs on is going to be fairly easy, that's quite straightforward, but where to put the legs is fair doing my noggin in, I can tell you. That's because the original positionings aren't quite right, because there's the whole venting, but I'm going to figure that out later now, because what I need to do now is I need to get the outer shell marked up where the lugs are going to go, which means I've got to measure the 16-inch to get the right and the same positioning and drill this shell. So yes, that's what I'm going to do, and I'll worry about vent holes and leg mounts later. Right, I'll do that. Now then, that's the shell marked up. All we're going to do now is we'll drill the lug-holes, not the ears, the lug-holes, and then I need to deal with that business with the vent and the leg mounts. So that's going to be the next one. See you in a little while. that's the throw-off attached on that side, so it's in the right place next to the badge, and there's the butt plate clamp. So all I've got to do now is wait for the resonant side die-cast hoop to arrive. I don't know when that's coming, hopefully it'll be in fairly soon, so I can get this all reassembled and done and back to its loving owner. If you, like me, are a drummer of a certain age and you're British, you'll remember back in the day there was much snobbery about drum brands, and in particular the Premier brands. Now, I grew up with lots of drummers telling me, oh no, you need to be playing Ludwig, you need to be playing this, and Premier were inferior, Beverley were even more inferior, and Olympic were just laughable. Whereas we know that is not true these days. Yes, snobbery, brand snobbery doesn't go on now, does it? No, of course not. Nobody does that anymore. And it's often been said, I wonder what these drums could tell us if they could speak. And I was ruminating on this, about the whole Premier, Olympic, Beverley hierarchy. And I wondered, wouldn't it be wonderful if they could speak? And if they could, how would they get on? And how would they perceive each other? It might look something like this. I look down on him because I am a Premier drum kit. I am upper class. I look up to him because he is a Premier drum kit. But I look down on him because he is an Olympic drum kit. I am a Beverley drum kit. I am middle class. I know my place. I look up to them both, but I don't look up to him as much as I look up to him, because he has got die-cast hoops. I have got die-cast hoops, but I've not got single tension lugs, so sometimes I look up to him. I still look up to him, because although I have single tension lugs, I'm perceived as being inferior. But I'm not perceived as inferior as him, so I still look down on him. I know my place. I look up to them both, but while I am perceived as inferior, I'm honest, made to the same high standards as them, and I have the same shells as they do. But had I the inclination, I could look down on them, but I don't. We all know our place. So sorry I'm late. Did I miss anything, darlings? It is a happy days moment. Well, it is, with regard to the Royal Purple tom-tom to snare drum conversion. Remember that? Yes, well, the hoop has arrived, the snare side hoop. Remember I was waiting for that? That's come from my good pal Johnny. I've got some nice, lovely new snare wires to go on it, as well as the batter head and a lovely spanking new snare side head. So, this is the fun bit where we get to assemble it. Great, job's a good one. All finished. Sounds lovely. Job well done. An epistle has pistled in. What does it say? Well, I'll tell you. It says, Mike, what's happening with the Shaftsbury floor toms? Well, there's no need to write in and ask me, because I'm just about to tell you. The 14x14 has had its lug holes filled in because the original ones are neither the right size or in the right place for the Shaftsbury lugs, so that is why we're doing a little bit of sanding work, and when that's done the shell will be drilled for the Shaftsbury lugs and indeed the floor tom leg mounts. So let's go and rejoin the action, shall we? That's the 14x14 shell drilled for the lugs. Now, next job, I need to drill for the Premier 39235 floor tom leg mounts. Not unlike this, in fact, exactly like this. One of the problems with fitting legs to a floor tom is getting them in the right place. It's not just at the right end, but in the right position. One of the mistakes that quite a lot of people have made in the past, and I've seen back in the days when drums were supplied to dealers and then the customer's choice of hardware went on. It wasn't necessarily the drum company's hardware that was fitted to the drum. For example, there are many Gretsch kits out there that are fitted with Premier parts, and I had a Slingland kit that had Premier floor tom legs fitted in the wrong places. What you need to do is you need to fit them as close to equidistant from each other. The way to do this, or I found the way to do this, is first of all you establish where your vent's going to go. Well, I'm going to put the vent here, which is why it says vent badge there. So that means that two legs are going to go in the panels either side, and the third leg is going to go directly opposite. Now it just so happens that's where they were originally fitted to this shell, but what often happened in the past was they'd put one in the middle of one panel here, and then one in the middle of one panel there, and one in the middle of one panel there, which meant the legs were not an equal distance apart. So you get two that were quite close together, and then one that was all out on its own, quite a long way off. Now you can't always get them exactly equidistant because the lugs might get in the way. So what I do is I shall draw a little line where the mount that's directly opposite the vent and badge is going to go. Then with my patented Grace Brothers tape measure, I'll measure all the way around. Now it should be somewhere in the 40 something inches. Can't remember off the top of my head, but it's 44 inches. Now what I need to do now is divide that by 3, so 22 inches puts me the vent badge, so that means that's 22 inches, so 7 1/3, 14, God, I can't think this, 14 and a bit. That's more or less where the other one was. So the little X that I've put there just to indicate where it should go, that makes it correct. Now in order that I don't get the mount and the lugs interfering with each other, means that I've got to be sort of fairly flexible on the exact positioning. So I have a lug. Now I'll put the lug in position and I get the mount. Just about fit, so we don't want it too close to the lug, so that's going to be where it's going to go. This is a template from the Premier Drum Factory, and this allows you to put the mount holes in exactly the right place. So it has a little illustration of a floor tom, and it has the two holes, the mount, and right at the bottom, edge of shell. So what we do is we put this in the position we want it, right up to the edge of the shell, and then I'll put a little pencil mark through the holes that I've already made in it. Let's have a look. Yes, there they are. So that's that, and that is that, and everything should be fine and dandy. So I'm going to measure it several times, check it again, just to make sure I don't get it completely bloody wrong, and then I'm going to drill the holes, and quite conveniently it tells you 9mm diameter holes are required for these mounts. So I'll get onto that and I shall see you in a little while. There we go, that's the first one done. nice and neat, and a nice tight fit. And there we are, ladders and germaloids. The last one is on fitted. Nice tight fit. So all that needs to happen now is a little bit of tidying up here and there, some of the rough patches. The inside's been done, as you know, it's white inside, but obviously there's been some filler work, so I'm going to attack that with a bit of rattle can. Okay, probably give that a few more squirts and a few hours when the paint has dried. I've got to do the same for the 16, or at least I've got to fit the float-on leg mounts, so whilst that's drying I'll do that. Lots of exciting stuff as usual in TDF. We're going to have to come back to the Shaftsbury drums in the next edition. We'll also have some new projects to be looking at, hopefully, and more exciting drum related tomfoolery. See you then.